once I started sharing all my knowledge and always overproving myself. And I don't mean to be like a sob story for women, but it's the truth. When you're in a male dominated industry, and I just think that the world is like, well, you can't be attractive and be successful and intelligent at the same time. And I'm like, yes, you can. You can definitely do all those things.
Yeah.
You don't want to rely so much on your looks. You want to be like, okay, that's great. That got me through the door, but now I'm really going to follow through with what I'm about and how I'm really going to service your account and make sure that everything goes smoothly. And so I always had that type of initiative within myself.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Rebuild and Rise. I am your host, Mikey Smith. And today I have a very special guest, and her name is Carina Tom, and she is the president of New World Title. And I have had the pleasure of getting to know this amazing woman, and she is going to gift all of us with her very unique, very inspiring, heartfelt, and tragic also story, but also triumphant, because who you see before you today is a woman of honor and grace and resilience. And so I brought her here today to bless all of you. And so without belaboring it, I would like to introduce Carina Tom to the show. Carina, it's so great to have you here. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, Micah, it is an honor to be on your show. I see what you're doing with your podcast, and it's something that is so impactful to everyone, not just obviously in the real estate industry, but just to everyone. And I honestly feel honored that you asked me to be a part of your show. And I just want to say, God bless you for what you are doing, putting this information out there and having people share their stories, because we don't know how our testimony is going to uplift others. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It was really surprising because I think, right, everyone sees you, this beautiful, glamorous, successful, well put together person, but they have no idea the pain that you've endured and just what you have been through to become who you are. So before we jump into too much, what I want to do is I want to start at the very, very beginning. And so I want you to just walk us through what your first chapter was like in the real estate industry. Where did you start before you were the president of New World Title?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So we're going to go back to when I was 18 years old.
Okay.
And the journey goes really
like
far back. And I think I've shared this story already so many times within my peers in the industry, but it's really, I think it's such a beautiful story, and it's a story for inspiration for all the young people, the new generations coming up. But I was 18 years old and I was working in the mall, literally, and my whole family's in the medical industry. My mom's a nurse, my brother's an anesthesiologist, my sister, she's an NP. So basically everybody in the family went into medical and they've had great successful careers, but not me. I was in college and I was working a part-time job at the mall. And I like to say that it was God's divine intervention into my life, because I booked a party. I was working for a company called Glamour Shot. So you get your hair done and all beautified. And so I was always a hustler, though. I always loved sales. And we booked this party. And then afterwards, when everything was done, I was like, hey, here are your pictures. They look great. And there just happened to be this one woman that she just really took a liking to me. And she's like, hey, do you want to get out of this job? They're hiring entry-level position in my company. And I was like, well, what kind of company? And she's like, well, it's more corporate. It's insurance. And I was like, you know what? I'll take it. And I took that opportunity, and that's something that I always share with the younger people. Be always open and ready for opportunities to come your way, and don't be afraid to walk through the door and take those chances. And I was just a very daring young girl, and I went to that interview and they said, you're hired. I think she lied and said I was her cousin. So thanks to Diana. So she's part of my story. And it happened to be the largest underwriter, Chicago Title, at the time. And it was just, that was like my setup into the beginning of my title insurance career. And from there, I worked there for about a year, 2 years, and then I went to work for another company. And then now I'm working, helping managing their production and just learning everything there is to know about title, basically on the back end. So it didn't start out as sales, but by the age of 21 in that company, there was another woman that was very inspirational. And I feel like that's part of my story now, more so that I'm a business owner, a title insurance company owner. I feel like I love sharing that for woman empowerment, how we have to look at the women that are paving the way and that are coming into our lives and respect them, and also, admire them in the way that you feel like you could take that as inspiration for yourself. And so there was another woman that walked in and she just looked gorgeous. She happens to still be my friend till this day. Her name's Laura. And I'm like, what do you do? She would come in and, looking all beautiful. And she's like, I do sales, I'm in charge of sales for this title insurance company. And so I went ahead and I went to the owner and I said, I would love the opportunity to do sales. And he said, absolutely not. You're too much of an asset inside. He like shut it down. He was like, nope, like we're not offering that position to you. And so I was like, okay. So I left and I like sulked at my desk for probably about an hour. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go find a recruiter. And I went to find a recruiter and they were like, absolutely, we know other title insurance companies. And that's how I got my break. Like that recruiter helped me find a job within the title insurance industry that would give me the opportunity to be a sales representative. And this was at the age of 21. So now here I am, I'm 21 years old. I get given the shot and I do understand everything there is to know about title by that point because I worked within the company. So that I think gave me a big advantage of knowing what I'm talking about. It wasn't just like I was just sales, a pretty face. Like I was more than that. I really understood the whole process of title insurance, what it was. And back then it was before the internet. So that's how far back we're going. Not to scare you guys.
I love it.
I'm showing my
much.
age. But yeah, no, he's like, go in the buildings and go into like the directory and like look for every attorney, every law firm, because we are an attorney state. So the way title insurance works here in the state of New York, even though I am a semi-national title insurance company and national for the refis, FYI, here in New York, we're an attorney state. So I had to walk into these attorneys' offices. And I mean, if we're going to touch upon a male dominated industry, oh
Yes.
my goodness. And being young and beautiful, it's like, not to toot my own horn, but I guess they're like, oh, you're attractive. And, we know why they hired you. And it was like overcoming all of that and saying, no, but I actually know what I'm talking about. And once I started sharing all my knowledge and always overproving myself, I feel like for us women, I don't mean to be like a sob story for women, but it's the truth. When you're in a male dominated industry, and I just think that the world is like, well, you can't be attractive and be successful and intelligent at the same time. And I'm like, yes, you can. You could definitely do all those things.
Yeah.
And you don't want to rely so much on your looks. You want to be like, okay, that's great. That got me through the door. But now I'm really going to follow through with what I'm about and how I'm really going to service your account and make sure that everything goes smoothly. And so I always had that type of initiative within myself. Like I had a lot of drive. That was the beginning part of my whole title career. And then that lasted up until a couple of years ago where I'm entering my third year as an owner of New World Connect Title. And that's a whole nother journey that I'll get into.
Oh, that's amazing. I had no idea. There's so much about you that I didn't know. And I love the fact that you worked at Glamour Shots. I mean, for me, like, I wonder how many people listening to this are going to know who Glamour Shots was, because as a little girl, I idolized Glamour Shots. Oh my gosh, it was like the best.
It
like
was
one
the
of best
best
things ever that we had available as
It
kids.
was makeup, glam, pictures, and then you
yeah.
had to sell the packages. So
Oh yeah, that's amazing. I love that. So I do want to move into something very deeply personal. And this was something that you and I actually had touched upon. We actually spoke at an event, and I had no idea what you had faced as a mother, as a human. And it's something that I think no parent should ever have to endure, which is to bury their own child. And I would love for you to just share the devastating loss of your beautiful boy.
Yeah. So, my son, I had him very young. I had him at the age of 20. And my whole purpose for building the business that I built and being so ambitious and driven was always him. Like, he was my why, right? So everyone says, always find your why. Mikey was my why, and he was a gift. He literally was a gift from God. Like, he came into my life and he just was such a beautiful angel, brilliant child. I made sure I didn't skip a beat. Like, I gave him everything. Especially when you're a young mom, you have, like, at least for me, and I see a lot of beautiful young moms, you want to, keep up, right? So you want to make sure that you're going to give that child, even more so than having a child older, everything, right? So you're working 10 times as hard, but just being there for him and making sure that he gets everything that he needs. And so, listen, I overachieved in that aspect. I made sure that by the age of 25, I had bought a house, and I, made sure that he was going to the best schools, but just mainly giving him so much love. Like, for me, my son, as to any other parent, right? I would hope so, was the apple of my eye. And to the whole family, he was the apple of our eye. And Mikey, there was that one moment, which was a tragedy 5 years ago for myself. My son died, and it was an accidental death. I never in my life thought that that was going to be. My son, to me, since he was always my why, was everything I was building was legacy for him, right? The houses, the business, all the guidance that I gave him, that I wanted him to be as a human. And he soared. When I say that he was in his apex, he literally, it's a lot of times, and I'm in grief groups, moms and dads are like, it wasn't just this one moment. My child was like a whole life. He was 23 years old. Let's not forget his whole life story. Let's not just focus on this one moment. Yeah. And thank God, up until that one moment, my son was just an angel, literally, like, never gave an ounce of problems, thank God. And, my heart goes out to parents that do have children that they struggle with. But for Mikey, it was we were proud the whole entire way, from him going to St. Agnes and then graduating high honors to Chaminade. Then he went to Drexel University, and then he's finishing his bachelor's and had a 3.85 GPA. Like, it was literally his last semester when he passed. And all these things, they stay with you, because I'm like, well, I want the world to know who Mikey is. I don't want it to be like, oh, he's someone that died and it was an accidental death, and let's talk about that one moment. That moment happened, and it's a parent's worst nightmare, and you don't know how you're going to go on. You don't. But I got to say that it's the strength from God that it's only God. I tell everyone, like, what is it? I said, it's my faith, is that I had this foundation in God, and I instilled that in Mikey. And Mikey, when I say he died in his apex, he died with all the goodness that a human should have when they go. Like, if you're going to die young at the age 23, to have left such an impact to so many other young people, like they literally came and they said he was a shining light. Like, his smile would brighten up the room. He would call us and say, hey, how you doing? Checking in on everyone always. And to know that I raised a human with such a beautiful soul like that, and that he believed in God, in my faith, and he gave himself to Jesus, as an adult. Though he grew up Catholic through his dad's side and everything, but when he was, right before he died, maybe 3 years before, we were doing missions work. We went to Guatemala. Oh, wow. And he told me, Mom, I feel God's presence here. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you think, once this happens as a parent, you're like, were there signs? Was he giving, like, almost like saying his goodbyes, Yeah. But whatever it is, listen, what keeps me going through the day, and this is I would say this to anybody that's going through this, and I hope that they're not, but if they are, or if they're battling depression or losing a loss of family members, a lot of times people come up to me and they're like, I could never tell you what I'm going through because I feel like, how could it compare? And I'm like, no, your pain is valid also, you know? And I thank God that it didn't turn me bitter, that it didn't turn me like even against God or against the world. Because I think of how Mikey's heart was, how his soul was. He was so good. And I carry his legacy now in being that good person here in this world with a purpose. And so my advice to others would be that battle pain or battle some sort of adversity, you have to have faith, right? Have faith and get up in the morning, get up, put one foot in front of the other, take it one day at a time. And it's okay to cry, but cry, but wipe your tears, let it out, wipe your tears, and know that if we're still here, it's because we have a purpose. It's God's purpose for each and every one of us. And we're here to care for one another, right? And so we just have to, keep trying, keep trying. Even if we fail, even if it's a hard day, just get up and just try, give it another try, and that's what I would say. But Mikey, it was hard. It was very, very hard going through that. I'm grateful to my business at the time because I had set it up in such a place where, thank God, I had that reputation and I had built some really amazing accounts, amazing connections, and people were just sending in the orders. And my team at my old company, they really helped out. They really helped me manage all the business while I was grieving and, going through all that. And I mean, the story is so deep. I wouldn't take off the whole podcast on this, but I will say that Mikey is an angel, and he is, I was driving down the road after he passed, and I said, God, now what? What?
Yeah.
This whole thing I did for him. So now what? And God said, no, you have it all wrong. You're here to live out his legacy. You're here to do what you're doing in his honor now. And for all the youth, like the struggling youth out there, use Mikey. He's an angel, and use him as an inspiration to do the right thing, to want to, go after whatever you're going through, and to also seek help. If you're struggling or you're battling with something, it's okay to seek help. It's okay to reach out to a family member. It's okay to reach out to a friend, because we're all battling inside. I have my trauma, I have my pain, but as do others as well. And so we have to be mindful of that. And we have to also end the stigma, right? There's a lot of stigma and shame around having maybe a depression or having an addiction issue or having thoughts or whatever it is you're going through. Like, ending the stigma. It's okay to speak out. It doesn't make you weak. Don't be ashamed. It's okay to be vulnerable. And that's what I've learned through this season. And Mikey, I know he's on the other side watching over me.
Oh, wow. At what point I cannot even imagine what it was like and what it still is like, because of just the immense love that you have for your son. And just, I can't even imagine what it's like. And I know you said when you first found out, you just felt like you couldn't go on.
No.
When was the moment that shifted when you said, okay, I have to keep going? Like, when did that happen for you? Like, when were you able to stand back up and say, no, I'm going to keep going?
So, like I said, it's my faith. And within, I want to say, it's all like a blur, but within a couple months, I do remember, I just felt like something came over me, and God was just like, you have to go on. Like, if you're still here, it's with a purpose. And I just got that strength from I don't know where. It's just superhuman. I can't even explain it. And I know that it's God. I like to say it's Mikey. It's nice to think of it that way. But I do know that my son would be so proud of me, you know? And it was that relationship that I had with him, that watching him grow, and it was just such a blessing that I could not do him that disservice and not fulfill everything that I was destined to be and to do within this industry, within my life, right? And to help others, I think would be so meaningful to him and to me. So that's what keeps me going every day.
What do you think that, just based off of everything that you've gone through, how has it shifted your perspective, whether it's business, relationships? How has your perspective shifted after having suffered such a great loss?
Value of everyone that I love, right? And offering that grace to everyone that I love, or, you know, people that I meet, like I said, we're all battling inside. And so when you lose someone like I did, my son, which is so traumatic, you start really caring for people, like really knowing that this life is, not to sound cliche, it's short, and we just don't know. Only God knows what tomorrow will bring, right? And so in this moment, you take it one day at a time, but you value your people and the people that you meet along the way. You value them more, right? And you treat them in a place like you know how fragile life is. And so if they need help, my mom, for example, she's battling an illness right now, neuromuscular illness that she got diagnosed with a year ago. And so for me, it's like celebrating the daily wins, like wherever the road is going to take her, right?
Yeah.
And, if this is her last season or if it's not her last season, all I know is that I cherish every day with her and that I will fulfill my rights and my honor while I'm here on this earth to her, to honor my mother. And so in my conscience, I will feel like, okay, you know what? You did the right thing, because the only thing that we could take with us when we go is really the good deeds that we have done, right? Who we were as a person, right? It's nice to have financial gain. It's nice to, have pretty things and beautiful clothes or be beautiful, right? But beauty fades. And at the end of the day, what matters is your inner heart, your spirit, right? How are you fulfilling that? How are you presenting yourself in the world and amongst your family, more importantly?
Wow. So I'm really curious to know, because I know that you suffered this loss 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And now you have New World, you're the president of New World. So you're a business owner, right, for 3 years. So this is 2 years after your son passed. Why did you start this journey of entrepreneurship? Did anything with your son passing have anything to do with it? Like, talk to us about what your journey into entrepreneurship looks like and why.
I always had that entrepreneurial spirit. It's funny because we're talking about children yesterday with my mother-in-law, and she was like, how like you could have multiple, like some parents have multiple children and one child will be one way and the other one will, and everyone has their own personality. And I was the child in the family that was the entrepreneurial spirit. So I always had it in me, but the journey leading up to it is, I feel like I literally was catapulted into becoming one of the owners of New World Connect Title. I have my partner, Rudy Hernandez. He started New World Title in Florida about 18 years ago. So I met him and he presented me with the idea. And when he came to me, I was like, I don't really do change very well, but I guess recently I did have a big change, and I have a little bit of dark humor, so don't judge me. So I was like, I had a big change in my life. So he's like, he's like, no, I could tell that you don't really do change. You were with your current company at the time, about 13 years. And he's like, but I think that you have what it takes to be an owner. And I would love for you to partner up with me to really, ramp up New York up and running and, really make a big mark here. And I think with me as his partner, he's like, I really believe that we're really going to be able to dominate. And so I thought about it. And then came January, of 2024, I said, you know what? I'm all in. It's definitely a totally new experience for me. But at that point, I was almost 30 years in the industry. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. And so that in itself was a big leap of faith. The change was definitely different because, like I said, I'm not really a creature of change. But I do feel like the experience with losing my son, I guess if you could find any silver lining, but your perspective changes when you go through such trauma. You start, if you can,
And if you're blessed enough to see the
silver lining even in the midst of such darkness. And I think a silver lining was that it gave me this new confidence where I'm like, I just been through the worst, so I could definitely do this, And
Yeah.
and I had the experience also. I mean, I have a huge background in title insurance, being in the industry for so long, and the reputation. And so that's it. Rudy and I, we joined forces January 2024, and that was a big adjustment. In the very beginning, he's like, "Well, you're the owner. You make the decisions." And I'm like, "Really? Oh my God, I am. I am the owner. You're right." And he's like, "Yeah, what do you decide about this?" And so, but now fast forward, oh no, I'm full in and really taking the lead. And I have an amazing staff, a great team of employees, here in Franklin Square. That's where our office is. We do our production from there. And they happen to know me 15 years plus. They worked with me at other title companies. And so they were like, listen, if you're there, we know the amount of business that you brought in. We've watched you for so many years. We're in with you, and we'll help you handle the production for New World Connect Title. And then there's an amazing team of salespeople too that I call them my partners. They're also amazing. I mean, each one better than the next. I'm always like impressed by them, by what they're doing. So collectively, listen, we're making a big impact in the industry. There's always a little bit of haters along the way, but
Of course.
it is what it is.
If you don't have haters, you're not doing it right.
Exactly. You don't have haters for sure. But you know what? I don't really hate on anyone. I've never been that type of personality. And I also believe that sometimes you have to seek first to be understood, right? So I feel
Sure.
as even with people that maybe misunderstand me or whatever, I feel like if I were to be able to connect with them, I always feel like there's always that opportunity to form a bridge, right? And you
Sure.
never know, like then relationships get reformed and they might have had an opinion before, but now they're like, oh my God, like I really, never realized, how we could be such great friends or how we could work together. Life is funny like that. I think life has taught me also a lot of forgiveness. I think that's a message that I would give out to your viewers. Forgiveness
that.
is so important in life.
I love that.
When you don't forgive, you harbor so much inside you that is just unnecessary baggage that doesn't deserve to have a place within any of us, right? So it's good to let go. On the other side of letting go, there's such amazing things. I get to be on this podcast with Micah. I love you, Micah.
I love you too.
You're awesome. And lots of great things have happened. And, New World, I'm so proud of it. I hit the pavement. I want to say it became a passion project also. I will say that me sitting around is probably not the best thing for me mentally, especially after the loss of my son. The sadness that comes upon me. I like to say that I get sad. I don't get depressed because I don't allow that spirit to come inside me of depression, because I do know that there is another place up in heaven where we're all going to meet. So that gives me some comfort. But the drive comes from, okay, well, what am I going to do with this pain? Let me get out there. Let me be around people. I find it very uplifting and therapeutic. And so I just started hitting the pavement. And, Rudy gave me that chance to be the owner here in New York, and together with him and proving myself, as I always do. I always have this whole drive of proving myself, even though everyone's like, you don't have to prove yourself. Like, you're already amazing. But it's something within me that I do. But I just started hitting the pavement, and my people were like, listen, wherever you are, we're with you. And I don't take that lightly. I do believe that my clients, they trust me because I've proven myself to them, because you're only as good as your last closing. So
Amen.
if I were to promise them X or have a beautiful lunch with them or a dinner, or they think I'm cute, they see my pictures, that's not sustainable. It's got to
Yeah.
be like you actually have to follow through. You actually have to make sure that their closings went smoothly, that the communication was there. And now, furthermore, as an employer and as a business owner, that my whole staff is doing what they're supposed to be doing. So if they're falling short, I'm constantly implementing and having meetings, making sure that we're fixing whatever gaps are there. It's always a work in progress. But my clients, I'm so grateful for them because they believe in me, but also because I've gotten them to many a closing and I followed through. And that means a lot that they formed that loyalty towards me. And I have new people coming on all the time as their trusted title insurance company. So yeah, there's been a lot of great things along the journey, but a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work. People ask me, like, how did you do it? How do you get to the numbers that your company is doing in closings in such a short time? And I'm like, listen, there's really no secret sauce. There's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of follow through, and there's a lot of communication, and there's a lot of reliability, you know?
Absolutely. I think that's one of my favorite things about you is like you're everywhere. You're never not helping someone and you're always contributing in some way, form, or fashion, whether it's a class or you're out doing some sort of charity event. I mean, you're literally everywhere. And it's really amazing. Like people just have no idea what it takes to be successful. And I think I really admire you for that because not only are you everywhere, not only are you not just a pretty face, but you are so consistent. And it's not a couple of weeks or months or years. It is like well over a decade of consistency. And so it's like your overnight success, right, has taken literally over 10 years for you to become, who you are. And I think one of the most powerful things that I like talking about with people, it's just the importance of that consistency. And like these kids, oftentimes, these younger generations, and it's older generations too, a lot of people underestimate the amount of effort that it requires to be successful. And it's like everybody wants to be you until they know what it takes to actually be you.
Oh, 100%. I feel like they're going to listen. I want the younger, listen, it's inevitable. Everyone's growing, right? Everyone gets that opportunity to come in. But I don't think that there's a cheat code to it. I still
No,
don't
it's
see
not.
it. Even though, listen, I want them to prove me wrong. Whoever finds the cheat code, please let me know and I will literally applaud you. But in my world, there is no cheat code. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of grind. It is learning to work smarter also. So I am open to the modern ways. But, a lot of times, you're right. The younger generation don't, I've met some across my travels that really don't respect the platform that you've built. Like it's almost, I could do it just like you. And I'm like, well, not really, because you're really not working as hard as I am and you really haven't put in the time, right? And so I just want people to really overcome that. Like nothing is going to get you to success but hard work.
Sure.
That's it. That's
Agreed.
it. There's no secret
agree.
sauce. That's it. Just work hard.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. So I want to take a moment because I would love for you to actually educate our audience because obviously me being in the real estate industry, I know what title insurance is and I know the importance of it. But I will say in a real estate transaction, I would say at least, and correct me if I'm wrong, I would say at least 95% of people have absolutely no idea what title insurance is, what it's for, and why it's necessary. Can you please explain this? And also, one more question I want to also add in. Can you please also give some huge red flags to look out for when shopping for a title agency, if you even have an option?
Oh, yeah. So, okay, number one, you do have an option if you're a buyer, right? And you're just a consumer, a buyer that is in contract to buy a house. You do have a right. It is the buyer's right in New York State to pick the title. That being said, New York State, we are an attorney state. And not to knock the attorneys because there's a lot of great real estate attorneys out there and they are doing their job to protect their client, which is the buyer when they're retained, right? So, but at the end of the day, the reason why the consumer, or maybe even realtors or people within the real estate transaction, haven't heard so much about title is because the attorney has always been the one that just controls it. It's something they order and they take care of, and then they'll explain it, I guess, somewhat to their client, right? But I like to be someone that's in the industry educating, right? So I am a New York State certified teaching instructor. I can teach on CE classes regarding title insurance. And so in the gist of it, what is title insurance? So title insurance, what it is, it's protecting your legal rights to the property. So when you're going to buy a property, the first thing that's going to be done is a title search is going to be ordered. So your attorney is going to go ahead and order the title search, right? So that they contact a title insurance company like myself. Why is a reputable title insurance company important? That they're backed by the best underwriters, right? So just in case that title insurance company were to be a fly-by-night company and it shuts down tomorrow, if they're working with the most reputable underwriters, like for example, First American being one of them, if they're working with them, once the client gets to the closing, the buyer, they're going to get their title insurance policy. So first, the title search is ordered, a whole review of the title of the property, of the whole entire history of the property is done. And so once this review is completed, right, between the title insurance company, the buyer's attorney, and the seller's attorney, and the lender, if there's a lender, then you get to the closing table, and that's where the title insurance policy is going to be issued. But in the interim, in this review, if you're not working with a reputable title company and they miss something in this review, then it's something that could come in the future and bite you in the butt. I don't know what to say, but they could come and bite you in the future, right? So you want to make sure you're working with a reputable company. And so we do our due diligence. We have expert clearance officers, expert counsel that will make sure that everything has been reviewed, everything has been cleared up. And so then at the end, when the client receives their title insurance policy, that title insurance policy is protecting the legality of the rights to the property, so making sure that there's no other person outside of that contract that says that they're an owner. And if there was, we went ahead and cleared it up and we found them or whatever we had to do to clear that up. Then secondly, we're also protecting the legal rights to the property. So the lines, not the structure, right? So the structure and the contents within the property, that would be more homeowners insurance. We are title insurance. So we are protecting the dimensions, what makes it the actual property, right? So from what point to what point to what point, the lines of the property. So that's what we are insuring. And so we're, for example, if a neighbor were to come on and build half of his house on your property, then you have your title insurance policy and you could say, no, legally, that is my property. And you put your fence 10 feet on. So you could take that neighbor into a court and then your title insurance would kick in, right? So then at that point, they would pay all the legal fees, all the court process, and any expenses. The title insurance company would then cover you. And the beauty about title insurance is that it's a one-time fee premium that you pay the day of the closing, and then you don't continue to pay it for as long as you own the property. As long as that deed to that property stays within your name and you're the owner, your title insurance covers you for the whole entire time. So that's the beauty about title insurance. But there's a lot of different scenarios that come up in my title world. We could talk for hours about this.
I bet. Has there ever been, so I mean, obviously, so New York being an attorney state, right? The attorney, as you said, orders it. Has there ever been a time, let's just say, because I know that you're semi-national, has there ever been a time where you saw someone who decided to forego the insurance and it bit them in the butt?
There have been some investors that probably have bought properties that say, you know what, I don't want to take the title insurance policy because they're just going to flip it or something. But I would advise against it. For the most part, no, I haven't seen it maybe once in my whole entire title career. For the most part, any reputable attorney in New York would not want to represent a buyer that is going to opt out of the title insurance. Even though it does say it on the on the title bill or on the CD, if there's a loan process, it'll say owner's title optional, but it is not optional, because at the end of the day, why would you not want to insure for most people, their largest asset that they will own, right, for their whole entire lives? Why would you not want that protected? It's like getting a Lamborghini and say, I'm not going to put insurance on it. I'm just going to drive it down the road, and somebody hits it. And then you're like, wait, maybe I should have put insurance on my Lamborghini. Or a tree falls on it. Yeah. So that's why title insurance is important. We all need it. And even if you're an investor, even if you're going to be, flipping the property, because I work with a lot of investors and builders, and then regular straight buyers, right, that are buying commercial and residential. And also title insurance, we cover commercial properties and residential properties. We cover all properties.
Amazing. I love that. So I have a question for you today, and I want to know if your son were here, which, I mean, he is kind of here with us today, but what would you want him to know about the woman that you've become and how he's been a part of shaping you as a woman, and I think just as a wonderful person of contribution?
I think from the very beginning, my son was sent here to just be my angel in my life, to be that why always. And he will always continue being my why, right? And so the woman that I have become, even from the beginning of his life, has been such an amazing. I'm so proud of myself. In this season, a lot of times us women, we're taught to not really say, or at least maybe where I come from, like say, what we're proud of in ourselves. But I'm very open about it. I'm very proud of everything that I did, that I accomplished. The number one thing that I'm proud of is how the mother I was, how I showed up for my son. I think that's helped me a little bit in my grief, because my son died knowing that I loved him more than anything in this world. And I know he's smiling at me right now. But I do believe that the woman that I've become through all these adversities has come out so strong. At this point, I'm made of steel. A lot of people message me, I think you're Wonder Woman. And I'm like, maybe I am. I think I am Wonder Woman. I'm doing it,
I love it.
Yeah, no, it's a blessing from God. It's God. I got to give it to God. Before me, myself, I would say it's God. It's my constant communication with God. It's my constant just seeking of more of him, and his blessing over my life and the people that I love, their lives. And also as I go about my way within this industry, I wanted to be a missionary. That was my calling always since I was little, and I was able to accomplish it. I went on quite a few missions trips and to Guatemala, and I'm still very passionate about that. I know the road is going to lead me to that again. But in the meantime, you know what? I'm spreading the love and I'm spreading the missions here within the industry. I'm not afraid to talk about my faith, and it's going to bring someone closer to God and help them open up their belief within their heart, then that's my true purpose while here on earth.
I love that. And I think that's what attracted me most to you, was just your openness about your faith and your vulnerability when it came to Jesus. And I was like, I can get on board with this. I was like, I like her. So I really appreciate you doing that, because I feel like so many people have so much trepidation about, do I want to share my faith? Do I want to be bold? And I'm like, that's the cross. That's the hill that I'm willing to die on, right? Like that's the hill that I'm willing to die on, is my faith, and I love that about you, that you're loud and you just are like, no, this is who I am and this is what I stand for and this is what I believe in. So I think we need more people like you.
It's my testimony, right? I think anyone that's come through such dark adversity, right? I think that's our testimony. I do believe that God is giving you that testimony. He's saying, well, how are you going to rise above this? Even as horrible as it may be, how are you going to rise above this? And how are you going to share this with the world? How are you going to help others with this? Right? Yeah. And so that's what I'm doing with loss of my son, and I guess in a weird way, a gift that I was given, I'm here to help others. I'm here to help them go through whatever darkness. And if I could give 1 ounce of inspiration for them to get up in the morning and put one foot in front of the other. I had a friend call me one day and she said, I can't even call you, but I've been in such a depression. And I tell myself, I look at your Instagram and I say, well, if Carina can do it and she went through the worst, then I can do it too. And you inspire me. And I get up out of bed when I've been battling with a lot of depression. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know that I was affecting you that way. But that's why I share more for that, to just be that light, to be that inspiration, to help others along the way.
I love that. I mean, I talk about turning tragedy into just something that God can use. And I believe Romans 8:28 with my whole heart, right? For all things come together for the good of those who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. And so even though we're suffering this immense pain in the moment, God uses this tragedy for good to benefit the lives of others. And I think that Mikey's presence will live on through you as it is, and obviously as it continues to. And I still cannot believe that you're here telling your story. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here and being so open and vulnerable. And I think that you're going to continue to change a lot of lives through this really, really sad yet uplifting story, because here you are and, you know, you're vibrant, you're thriving. And so thank you so much for that. And I want to ask you one more thing, which is just, I want to leave it very open-ended. And I want it to be, if you could just leave us with just one piece of Carina Tom advice, just one piece of advice, wherever it stems from, what would it be?
Well, for me, you know, one part of like my grief journey is, it's crazy because and it's going to sound a little weird, but like was in a trauma and bereavement therapist. So I do believe that people should be open enough to seek therapy. Therapy has been so helpful for me in this season. But, you know, sometimes, and listen, if you need medication, then by all means, like I'm not a doctor and everybody is their own individual journey that they're going through. But I will say that for me, like putting on worship music, it just soothed me. Like I just listened to that worship music and just pouring into my spirit. And so find things that pour into your spirit, right? Yeah. Find, you know, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's calling a friend, and it's okay, be vulnerable. Like it's okay. You know, we all have tough days. If you don't have many friends, then seek a group or a group of some sort. You know, there are support groups out there. And so that's my advice. Like just don't give up. Find a way no matter what.
I love that. So Carina, before we wrap up the show, I would love for you to please tell everyone how they can find you, connect with you, find inspiration, all of the above.
So listen, you can connect with me on Instagram. I'm the Ultimate Title Girl. And New World Connect Title, we have our website. And also, listen, I'm here. I'm just a phone call away. Any question, it doesn't always have to be directly regarding a deal that we could do together, but any question, any guidance that I could offer. I troubleshoot different types of scenarios all the time. I help realtors find out questions about a property because I have access to softwares and my team that we can give you information regarding properties as well. So listen, I'm just a phone call away. Follow me on Instagram, The Ultimate Title Girl. I'm here for all your title needs.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here. All right, everyone. So that is officially a wrap. And we want to thank Carina Tom so much for being just a wonderful guest on our show today. And I hope that you enjoyed her story. And please send this to someone that you know it will impact them as well. Please like, subscribe, and all of the links will be in the show notes so you can follow Carina Tom. Until next time, God bless.